Welcome back to Bad Movies Rule. And if you've just watched a movie whose theme song is better than the entire film, you've probably just watched Spy Hard.
I totally concur with your initial assessment.
You know, I was going to jump on that and just tell you how wrong you were, but even me liking this movie, you're still correct.
Yep. This is going to be a long episode. I just assumed everyone was going to see this movie for the complete pile of trash that it is, but
No, I will say that I liked this movie less than all other of his movies, and I still like the movie. However, yes, it is more for I like the movie for what it could be.
I liked it at a time, but anyway, we are just going to get straight into introductions because I've got so much to say about this movie, and I don't want to forget to introduce you guys. So the silent mime who hasn't said anything yet is Kurt Mummer. Kurt, welcome to the show today.
Hi, how you doing?
There he is. See,
sorry.
No,
I was silenced.
Clint Bush is also in the house today, as you heard. Clint, how are you this morning?
We're doing great, man. Excited to be here. All of us.
Did you bring Barry Bostwick in your pocket with you?
No, I spoke with everybody before you got here because you were last. So
got it.
We are doing great.
Awesome. And Mr. Mel Vandy, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm hard. Spy hard.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, here we go.
Well, if you haven't figured it out, we're talking about Spy Hard today. And sometimes life can be hard. And when that happens, was that too much of a...
No, I enjoy it.
When life is hard, you should listen to Bad Movies Rule. And if you are listening to Bad Movies Rule and your life is hard, tell us about it. Vent your frustrations. We want to hear from you guys. We've got an email address that literally is gathering dust. We have set this thing up so that our listeners could talk to us. We have listeners. We have more listeners over the last few weeks than we've ever had before.
Awesome.
That's so many listeners.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you for listening. Send us a frickin' email. Every episode we plug this thing and no one ever uses it. I don't care if you have to tell me about your life's problems or why you don't want to go to your grandmother's house on Labor Day. I don't care. Send us a flippin' email to thisshowIstrash@gmail.com. At this point, I just want to know that it works. Does it work?
I think we got one email, didn't we?
Oh, that's right. We did get one.
We did get one.
All right, it works. Tell us what movies you want to see. Tell us what you guys thought of this movie. Is Spy Hard the pile of trash that I say it is? Or is it, I don't know, just mildly terrible? That's what we want to know. Send us an email.
It's a mild pile that's got some gold in it.
It has like 4 jokes that work in the entire movie, but that's all right. Let's get the vitals out of the way, guys. This movie, and this is, when I saw the vitals, when I saw who directed and wrote it, I went, oh, because I'm thinking, okay, Leslie Nielsen made all these incredible spoof movies at the beginning of his career. The beginning of his comedy career. At the beginning of his actual career, he was doing drama.
Westerns.
Right, and things like that. But he made Airplane, then he came out and he did the 3 Naked Gun movies, right?
Sure.
And he's working with the Zuckers and Abrams and all these awesome
Classics.
Classics. Yeah. And I thought, they really fell off with this one a little bit. Then I saw it was directed by Rick Friedberg. And I went, Rick Friedberg, that's not a name that I know because he hasn't really directed much, but I recognize the last name.
Yes, he's a manager at Arby's.
No, he probably is now.
He's got that song that's named after him, right? Freeberg?
Freeberg.
That's right.
Freeberg.
I'm as free as a berg now. The gentleman's son is Jason Friedberg, who I do know. And he wrote this, Jason Friedberg, along with Aaron Seltzer. And Aaron Seltzer and Jason Friedberg are the idiots that made Disaster Movie, Epic Movie, Meet the Spartans, all of that crap.
Makes sense.
Okay?
So he did a fantastic job on this one then.
This is their best movie by far.
See.
Remember, there was like every year for a while, there was a new spoof movie coming out, but it was like trash and not nearly as good as like what those guys were doing 10, 20 years ago.
Almost like the National Lampoons.
Like, no, I wouldn't even denigrate them.
Started to
the side movies.
Fall off a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still okay.
Well, those movies are terrible, and this was their first one. And so it all made sense to me.
They started out with the best and then just diluted it more.
Well, think about Smash Mouth. They had their whole life to write that first album.
Mm-hmm.
After that,
the record company says we need something else.
Right.
What are you trying to say? That Spy Hard is Jason and Aaron's All-Star?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Jeez.
Wow.
It's pretty bad. The movie stars Leslie Nielsen and Nicolette Sheridan. Have you guys ever seen Nicolette Sheridan in anything besides this? Nicolette Sheridan was his girlfriend that he fell in love with after knowing her for 4 seconds.
Just some.
The Russian one, not the girlfriend he fell in love with after 4 seconds in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
I was going to say,
We need
which
to be
one?
more specific.
See, the fact that she was barely in the movie and was in 3 scenes with him, and he was like, "I've decided, I love you," right?
Yeah.
That's riding the gurney down the street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dressed as a nun.
Yeah, so Nicolette
Right.
Sheridan was famously from Knots Landing, but she also was in Noises Off, played Vicky, a great movie. I only mention that because not enough people have seen it. Go see Noises Off. Desperate Housewives and Beverly Hills Ninja with Chris Farley. Did you guys ever see that movie?
I did. I
was
do
the-
remember
She
that.
was the
Sadly,
woman in that
yes.
movie. Yeah. Another terrible movie. The next year after this, she would jump from this to go make Beverly Hills Ninja with Chris.
Like I said, it's all downhill from here.
It really is. All right, so let's talk about our general impressions of the movie. And I feel like some of you have already let the cat out of the bag, but you think it's a good movie.
I love it.
Okay, you say that, and it just reminds me of a better spoof
love
movie, which was Naked Gun 2.
Yes.
Right.
No,
Leslie
no.
Nielsen was supposed to say, give the signal, "I've been swimming in raw sewage. I love it."
No, I just think that there's too many movies that either take themselves too seriously, or some movies you just want to sit down and have fun. And even though the references in this kind of fell off and didn't always hit, there was a lot of gems that you just looked at and you smiled or you laughed because it was funny.
There was a lot of heh. There was a ton of heh in this movie. Like,
And that's
legitimately,
okay.
like, there's the joke. We see it. We recognize that's the joke. All right, move on. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah,
They were not as funny as the Naked Gun
Agreed.
movies at all, but it keeps bringing you back to it. I mean, the funniest part of it was the direct, hey, we're going to, rip this scene, but it's like, that's what they did. They ripped the scene. They didn't actually
They didn't have it funny.
satirize it
Right.
properly.
right.
See, my issue was, and as much as I do enjoy the movie, I am a guy who will read every Laffy Taffy joke when
Right.
and I love dad jokes.
Yes.
I mean, I'm usually got a good selection of those filed away in my Rolodex in my brain. So when this movie was going, I pretty much saw it before it was happening.
Right.
So it was almost like you said, where it was kind of like, and it was just, but I wanted it to be what we all grew up loving about Leslie Nielsen movies.
Right.
Well,
And that's where I was kind of bummed out a little bit.
this is why. Well, we couldn't do the ones like I wouldn't have said Naked Gun or Airplane was eligible to be on this. Right? Those are too good. They're classics.
Right. Those are
Yes.
fantastic.
So if we're gonna do a Leslie Nielsen movie, this is kind of where we have to start. And he made some even worse ones after this. Right? He did
Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
right, and then
Mr. Magoo.
Mr. Magoo was also terrible. He did a movie called Wrongfully Accused, which was like a spoof of The Fugitive, which was awful. Although it does have
It
one
has
of the
some fun
best
parts.
one of the best jokes in any Leslie Nielsen movie. 99% of it's trash, but that movie's got one of the best jokes.
What is it? Can you share?
I'll share with you. There's like a typical standoff, right? Like the good guys are now facing off against the bad guys at the end, right?
Absolutely.
And he says to one of the bad guys, he asks him a question or something. He says, "Shoot yourself in the head to signal yes." Okay? And the other bad guy grabs the guy's hand and goes, "Don't. It's a trick."
Love it.
It's the best. Anyway, but then he just started making these like, because he lost Abrams, he lost the Zucker brothers and all those guys. And those are the guys that made Leslie Nielsen can have a few gems in any movie he's in, but without those guys,
He was a delivery man.
yeah,
Like, legitimately.
exactly. And I would have been a Laffy Taffy rapper. That they could have brought a pile of those in. It would have helped the script, right? They could have just said, the movie with the inside of a Snapple cap is funnier than Spy Hard. Okay, you guys ever read the inside of a Snapple cap?
Yeah, they used to have the little like fun
Fun
snapbacks.
facts.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was more interesting than watching this film.
It's too lowbrow for me.
Here's I think the two.
My favorite part of the movie happened right off the bat. Like,
Yeah.
legitimately, right off the bat with the, the intro, obviously. Forget about the intro, because that was...
Yeah, the theme song was the best part of the movie.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was
Well,
great.
and I'd even say just the first 15 minutes were great.
I was just going to say,
I mean,
Mr. T
you got,
in the helicopter,
you got
and then he jumps out.
Fabio, you got Mr. T, you got Andy Griffith. I mean, you got Ace Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Not all of these are good.
You got Benson. Like these are all guys that I grew up watching and
Right, it's
loving
fun.
in movies and
It was
television.
fun to see all those cameos, but they weren't all like.
No, some of them were
fantastic.
totally wasted. And here's the reason why the movie doesn't work as we get into all that. So these movies, these spoof movies, rely on a couple things, right? Spoofing well-known properties, which you kind of already brought up.
Absolutely.
And sight gags, right? The idea is how many jokes a minute can we get in these movies, right?
Yep.
You,
Sure.
you want to have like a joke every 15 seconds.
There's got to
okay?
be stuff in the background that has nothing to do with what's going on.
That
that's
too.
Also hilarious.
And there's a lot of jokes that are sight gags, like when he's dropping, champagne bottles on runners' heads or whatever when he's
Yeah,
parachuting
yeah,
down,
yeah,
like that
yeah.
kind of stuff, right? Those sight gags. The problem is in the Naked Gun movie, or Airplane, not every joke worked, but they were hitting like 8 out of 10 jokes were hitting. This was like 2 out of 10 jokes were hitting, right? And so you're far, far under the number of sight gags that hit. And then I think the even more important thing is the stakes are non-existent. Like the actual story itself is not interesting or terrible. You watch Naked Gun, you actually want to find out who the bad guy is that tried to kill O.J. Simpson, and the fact that he's trying to program assassins to go kill the queen at the baseball game is an actual story, and there's an actual police story, and it's interesting. Right? At Airplane, the same thing. Are they going to land the plane? It's like the story itself. Yeah, it's not a movie that takes itself seriously, but there still has to be a driving, interesting story behind all the stupidness of these types of movies.
No, that makes sense.
Ranker's world domination?
No, it made absolutely no sense. And Andy Griffith was terrible.
I enjoy seeing
Terrible.
him as a bad guy, though.
Okay, but the novelty of that wears off after a second.
I'll give that to you. Yeah, absolutely.
and
But I enjoy seeing him as a bad guy. I thought this is going to be great.
I'm an unarmed man.
His acting was terrible. He was totally miscast. And sometimes you take a guy that's always a good guy and you cast him as a bad guy, right? Like Henry Fonda in Once Upon a Time in the West, and he kills it, and it's awesome, and it's a bit of stunt casting that works.
Stunt cast!
Just Andy Griffith. I wanted to launch him on that nuke within the first 5 minutes of the movie.
So you got yours in the end then?
I did.
It was a long joke for you.
As a payoff.
But you guys brought up the cameos.
Tons of them.
Tons of them. Let's talk about some of these. So let's start with Mr. T. He was the first one that showed up.
Yeah,
Yep.
flying in the helicopter.
Flying, yes.
Yeah, he was flying.
Yes.
That's odd. I thought
Yeah,
he
he didn't do that in the A-Team or anything.
He hates flying,
I hate flying.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
He got punked in this. They brought him in, and then he didn't even do anything cool,
Right.
and then he just gets blown up.
Right.
They kind of do the same thing to Hulk Hogan. They bring Hulk Hogan in at the
he
end, which was
tag
awesome.
teams,
Tags
yeah.
him in. He gets beat up by some random henchman, and then he's like, ugh, choking on the ground, and tags in Joyce Brothers, and then he leaves. Like, why would these guys sign up to look like punks in these movies?
They
Have
got
you ever
paid
been
for the day's work, man.
But still,
$20 is $20, bro.
they wasted these guys. I'm saying they could have had them
Yes.
doing something epic and awesome and hilarious.
Yes.
And neither of those jokes. I was like, oh, look, cool, Mr. T. Oh, look, Hulk Hogan's in it. Oh, now Joyce Brothers is fighting. Okay.
Think about this,
Right.
though. You kind of talked about this and hit this in another episode.
Mm-hmm.
To where you have this thing that could be this massive payoff, and then at the end it's just kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like an inside joke at that point. You throw Mr. T out
An
there.
inside joke that's not funny.
Well, that's it. Not everything.
And you
hits.
can't make inside jokes in a movie because the whole point is that it's an outside audience that's
Wait.
going to watch it.
You can't do that?
No, you can't and expect it to do well.
Oh.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, I
You
guess.
can't base an entire movie around an inside joke.
No.
Oh, you have to take it to the next level.
Right.
Got it.
That movie was not an inside joke. Okay. That was based off a skit that we wrote for people that were coming to see a show. That was most definitely not an inside joke. I did like that Alex Trebek was in this movie
Yes.
Yes.
as the voice on the, your mission will self-destruct on the tape at the
Yes.
beginning. So that was a good cameo. But then I saw our guy from Megaforce show up, and
Yeah.
he's basically a cameo. It was pretty obvious to me that he had a bigger part that was cut, because there was a couple scenes he's in the background, like he was just there saying something, but he had no lines in that scene.
Right.
Like when he's handing out the gadgets, Noggin is giving him his gadgets or whatever. You see in the back, Ace Hunter from Megaforce is there.
Wait, who's Ace Hunter again?
Barry Bostwick,
I don't know who you're talking about.
The
the guy from Megaforce, the guy you literally cosplayed as him.
Oh, that guy.
Yes,
Handsome fella.
Yeah, he was the guy with the Kennedy accent, and
Is that what he's doing? I'm like,
I
what
feel
voice
like it
is he
was very
doing?
Kennedy.
Time to take action.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was
less of a Bostwick fan again after watching that. It's unfortunate.
Just wait, he gets worse in other things.
I was like, I can't believe we've done 2 Barry Bostwick movies already. Ray Charles was the bus driver. That was another
that was
cameo.
pretty good, actually. I was like, all right, I get that.
That was a joke I felt that landed.
Yeah.
Next stop, Melrose, I think.
Nice dress. That was Mr. Miyagi. Pat Morita was in the movie as a gay waiter.
Yes,
Right?
I
Effeminate
forgot about
waiter.
that one.
a feminine.
Oh my God. You're right. I guess he never disclosed his sexual identity, Mel.
I will say though that he was misinformed on his Pintos. There was no such thing as a '69 Pinto.
Yeah, that would
Wait,
be pretty.
wait.
That'd be pretty hard to find.
Who said I missed that part.
That was his line when he walked up.
Oh, you're right. He said what he likes.
He's like, "Yeah, I like loose-fitting clothes and
right.
drive a '69 Pinto." And I was like,
There's no such thing.
"No such thing." They ran from 71 to 80.
Oh, geez.
So there was no.
No 69
69
Pinto.
Pinto?
He's a liar.
And then so the other one I had down for cameos was Fabio, right?
Yep, for sure.
Which-
I also felt that was an appropriate use
Yes.
of his casting.
So we got 2 people that were well used out of all these cameos. And even Benson, who was not really a cameo, he was a person, but he was only in 2 scenes. It was like they could only afford these guys for a day.
Yeah,
Right.
let's
Right.
get their scenes in and out of here.
And then we got to drop a piano on his head because he can't be in the rest of the movie.
right.
Right.
Okay, just so we're on the same page.
Think about this, though. They saved the money for the awesome intro song and for the practical effects.
They should have just made the trailer and the intro song and never released the movie. And we would all be sitting here saying, man, I wish they'd released that movie. It would have been awesome.
How much money do you think they gave Weird Al to do that song?
Enough.
He's the guy that you probably hire when you don't want to. I mean, I can't imagine, no offense to Weird Al, lifelong fan, seen him live many times. But you think he's expensive when it comes to writing a theme song? I mean, expensive if you wanted to hire him to write a theme song.
I was going to say, I can't afford them.
But if you blew your budget, how big was your budget?
I don't even know what was the budget for this movie. Do we have any of that?
The budget was $18 million.
well spent.
Wow.
That's, yeah.
How much of that was
Wow.
How
That's what I'm
much of
saying.
that was spent on Weird Al?
Well, I think
$1 million?
there was 7 cameos, so that's for one day. That's $7 million. What did you pay those guys $1 million each to show up? Joyce Brothers gave you a deal. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of money, and I can't imagine Weird Al was a huge chunk of that.
17 million of it was Andy Griffith.
You know, Andy Griffith at this point, what was he doing? Matlock.
I don't even know.
I enjoyed a nice Matlock episode.
Here's the crazy thing about the box office draw that Leslie still was at this point because he hadn't made a bomb yet. That movie still made $28 million in the box office.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Because we expected it to be.
right, because everyone showed up. And look, if it had been good, it would have been a lot more than that. But everybody showed up the first 2 weekends and was like, oh, wait.
Yeah, nobody watched it again.
And so the box office just kind of fell off a cliff after that.
You know, thinking about what you were saying earlier with the fact that like only 2 out of 10 jokes hit.
Yeah.
I think that's probably like, so when I watch his other movies,
Yeah.
by the end of the movie, you're sort of like, oh, that was a fun ride.
Yes.
But then on this one, by the end, I was kind of going, when is this going to end?
Right.
Because I was just kind of getting bored with it to where it was like, okay.
Right.
And then I still feel it's weird how it ended. It was so abrupt and
Yes.
quick. Like there was no off into the sunset with the girl or which one.
No, they ran out of money.
Decided it was just like, let's blow up Andy Griffith
Right.
and legs and scene.
And that,
Like,
okay, but the fact that, you know how bad the movie has to be that you start getting bored and wondering when it's over, when it's 80 minutes long?
Right.
Yeah,
I literally
exactly.
figured about an hour in, no joke, I got about an hour into this thing because I don't remember. I mean, I know I watched it,
Yeah.
but I didn't remember how long or anything like that. I was
Yeah.
about an hour in. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to bed. I'll finish this one tomorrow. And the next day I went to watch it again. I was like, it's over? Really?
Right.
That's all I had left? You know, I
Is-
never looked at the...
Not even an hour and a half, which is like standard length
Yeah.
for a motion picture, generally speaking.
See, and I watched it recently in 14 parts because we had a lot of customers at the shoe store.
Well, I'm sure maybe it's more enjoyable in bite-sized pieces.
Definitely.
Maybe that's why you loved it.
It was fun. It
All right,
reminded me of my childhood.
We're not even going to do our regular segment, scenes that must be discussed, because there are no scenes that must be discussed. Unless you guys have a scene that you're like, these scenes have to be talked about, we'll do it now. I'll give you guys the opportunity.
I loved the scene where, I mean, we've got our driver, right? Who every car, and then he's got a gag with something he's got to go do, and then he just runs off and comes back. Now, that's a running thing. But they hop in this Charger, and they're following him, and he just revs the motor. Rah, rah, it's American V8. It's a beautiful sound. I mean, it's like they're trying to be incognito in his
And he's revving the Charger.
Amazing. That to me was a joke as a car guy that hit hilarious. But
Right, but that's not a scene.
That was one of four.
I'm saying that's a moment in a scene.
I guess so.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I guess I feel like it should be jokes that
Well,
are.
we can do
must
that.
be.
That's
must
what
be
we'll talk
discussed.
about. So, but I was gonna get your opinion about that guy. What'd you think about the fact the dude showed up in a different car every
I loved
time?
it. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. Was the Charger your favorite one?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's still a Dodge, but
What was the car that he showed? I always ask you because I don't know anything about cars. What was the car? It looked like a Volkswagen, but it had like the windows like folded up.
I don't remember.
And
The Renault?
the Renault? I don't know.
I honestly I can't say I remember because
He was on his phone.
yeah, we were absolutely watching the movie, and I kept looking up, looking down, looking up.
Yeah.
It wasn't fantastic. I'm a terrible host.
Yeah.
or terrible.
You'd think if you had a movie podcast, you'd actually watch the movies.
How dare you?
But
I watched it before.
that's a good one. I actually had that on my list of gags that worked. Was the empty Charger going down the street with the
Right, and
Hindi
they're
music
walking behind it.
the Hindi music playing. It was very funny to me.
Yeah.
One of my
Absolutely.
favorites was the constant "what is it" joke.
Oh yeah, well that goes all the way back to Airplane. Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's what I just thought was so fantastic. It was like, well, what is it? It's a giant rock.
Right.
You know, the Rock
Right.
of Gibraltar, and then the obviously with the golf.
Yes.
And what is it? Well, it's a game
game.
that you play. And you wear funny pants and you smack balls around in the holes.
right.
Like, I mean that I thought was a great gag.
That was good.
I
That was
also
good.
enjoyed the all the dicks you got. Obviously, he hasn't seen some of our newest members.
Oh geez.
Like that made me laugh.
that was okay.
Yeah, there was just some
yeah,
good
that-
little hits.
Like I said, they're
Yeah.
you know.
But I think this is actually our first parody movie that was on here because
Yeah, and I don't know if
UHF
we'll do
doesn't
any
like
more. It's
This
just
is
it's a hard thing to talk
It
about.
seems to me even beyond that, this is a parody of a spoof movie.
It's more. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, there's the spy movie thing, and then there's the spoof movie stuff that they were doing, and legitimately, this walks the line between making fun of both
Yeah.
of those, as opposed to just hardcore making fun of one of them.
Well, here's the thing: when they would do movie parodies in these other films, they would at least integrate better into the plot and would move the plot of the actual movie along and be there
Right.
for a purpose. Let's take the speed spoof, for example. They leave the restaurant, right? And they're like, oh, we get on a bus because we're going to go somewhere. Okay. That's where the movie starts the speed spoof.
Right.
And then all this stupid speed stuff happens on this bus, right? The guy comes on, he cut the brake lines. Dick Steele is trying to stop the bus with his feet.
Right.
That's not really that funny.
Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ray Charles gets moved out of the seat so she can drive because, it's the spoof of speed.
Right.
And all that being said, they finally stop the bus. They get off and they're like, all right, what were we doing? Where are we going? Right. And then the plot starts back up again. That 5 minutes had nothing to do.
at all.
That
With
also
the movie.
though, follows a movie trope which we've talked about, where
Yes.
we need to eat.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Now let's go get a bite to eat.
Let's go get something to eat.
Right, but it's just the scene itself moved nothing forward. It didn't move the ball down the field at all.
It moved it to the next gag.
But that's not. I'm
It
talking about
moved
within
into
the
whole
plot,
Pulp Fiction.
which also was random and had nothing to do with it.
No, I know.
It's like, oh, let's.
I'm sarcastically agreeing with you.
That I
Let's-
agree with. That
Yeah.
it added nothing. It was just hey, that's a thing.
Hey, we're doing
this-
Pulp Fiction now.
Yeah, this movie just came out. It was hot. Let's go ahead and grab some Pulp Fiction in this. It wasn't a spy movie. It wasn't, something to pull
Yeah.
from. I mean, I guess the Speed one really wasn't either. So they
Neither
didn't-
of them was.
They didn't just pull all spy stuff, which I think if you're gonna be
Jurassic
spy
Park.
hard-
I mean, True Lies. When they did the True Lies thing, when he jumps on the horse,
airplane?
That was awesome.
that at least made sense because it was in the middle of a chase.
And it was
so at least-
parodied. It was actually
Exactly.
parodied.
I actually liked the fact that he rode the horse into the hotel and was trotting through and going to the elevator, and then a horse gets out of the elevator. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, come on, this is like normal.
And there was the same old couple from True Lies that was in the elevator with him. They got the same two people.
I
See,
thought
now
you
that I
guys were
didn't
talking
catch.
about the jet that raised up.
Well, that's the end of that scene. Yeah,
gotcha.
right. But that was actually integrated into the story in some way. You know, and even the Home Alone thing, as stupid as it was,
See, that hit too.
they at least, you know, when you're sending the people to capture the kid, it's an excuse for him to set some traps. I mean, that
And
even
then
though they were
didn't
terrible,
work.
they
That
didn't
was
work.
the best. Because it's so much more realistic. That was actually pretty good. I
Yeah,
like it.
but it wasn't random aside that had nothing to do with it, right?
Right.
And this is for my girl. And my girl too.
I wasn't even in My Girl 2.
Yeah. You know what's funny though is that to spoof the movie, they hired this kid, Mason Gamble, I think is his name.
Yeah, wasn't he
Yeah.
Richie Rich?
No, he wasn't. Well, that was still Macaulay Culkin was Richie Rich, but he was Dennis the Menace
Oh,
in that movie with Walter Matthau.
Yes.
That was him. Like 3
about
years after that, so he was still only like 10 years old in this movie.
Right.
But yeah, that was my son was watching this with me, and he's seen Dennis the Menace many times,
Yes.
and I had no clue. He picked it up in literally 1 second. As soon as the kid showed up, he's like, "Oh, it's Dennis the Menace." I'm like, "That's not the same kid." Look it up. It was. He was right.
Wow.
Nice.
I know.
Why you got to be doubting the kid, man?
Were you proud at that moment as a father?
I was proud.
I would be too.
Here's a joke that I think works that is kind of a classic. You talked about the "what is it" joke that they've been doing back since all
Yeah,
the other ones.
Sure.
Another classic Leslie Nielsen joke is the fact that he's with all of these younger women and
Yes.
he's clearly, 60 years old. And, like I think it was Naked Gun 33 and a third. They did the scene from Ghost where they're doing the clay thing and it's like a bodybuilder.
Right.
Right. Like when his shirt is off. So when she rips his sleeve off as she's hanging off the cliff.
Yes.
And it's just got this jacked arm
Right.
underneath it. That every time Leslie makes one of the jokes, that kills me. That kind of stuff works. The problem is it's every 15 jokes, there's maybe one that's good.
Right. And he pounded her completely into the mattress.
Yes.
Also.
There was a joke in this movie. There's a joke in this movie that I think only people of a certain age will get, and eventually there'll be a point where no one will get it, which is the joke where he's trying to play the tape on the VCR, and he's like, no, put it on channel 3.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's got to be on 4. Switch it to VHS. Right, and then it goes through this whole
gotta be on
song and
monitor.
dance. It's got to be right. This whole song and dance just to get a tape to play. No one will get that joke in 30 years from now.
Right.
I like the right off the beginning too, the joke with the mime. This
Oh.
guy's not saying nothing, and then
Right.
he's beating him up, and then he brings him out, and he's like, "Shoot him, and make sure you use the silencer." And it's a pillow. I love
On a
that.
50 cal.
I thought that was stupid.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, I laughed at that one. I thought it was great. And then I thought was funny too was the headquarters had the 7 dwarfs on it. Did anyone?
Yeah.
catch
So
that?
what is that?
I don't know, but
Did they just film it at Disney?
It was
It's a
just
joke they couldn't finish. That it got cut.
That's every joke in the movie was
Right.
one that they just kind of couldn't
It
finish.
kind of threw me off. I wasn't sure what
That-
to think about that one.
So that first scene with Barry Bostwick, Ace Hunter. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to call him Ace Hunter. I was really upset he didn't kiss his thumb and give anybody a thumbs up in the movie. That was actually a good scene, and I like the disguise guy. I don't know what you guys thought about the guy
Yes,
that would hide
the
in the
chair.
disguises.
Yeah, the director.
yeah,
Yeah.
Except when they opened the blinds on him, that was a
pretty
little
funny.
disturbing.
It's funny.
It's disturbing, but it was funny.
But
okay.
that first scene it was good because they had the joke with the VHS and they had the joke about some of our newest members, right?
Yeah.
And then it had another great joke that I thought that worked is the scene was intensifying, the violin music picks up and he's like, "Will you go practice somewhere else?" And it just you see
Right.
the violinist
Yeah.
is right there.
And
And
he's like, as he's walking away. Yeah.
anytime they do that in these spoof movies like Spaceballs or whatever, where they take the score of the film or the camera itself and make a joke out of it, the movie making.
Or
I
the
love that.
announcement
I
for
love that.
the bomb or the rocket.
Yes,
And it's the lady talking.
the lady.
14 minutes, 27 seconds remaining.
She takes a
right.
drag
Well,
off of her
you said
cigarette.
Spaceballs. My first thought was the rafting bumper sticker on the raft joke. I mean, how many times has that been done in every
know.
spoof movie?
I know.
How's
my rafting?
Call
Yeah.
1-800-GLOVE, I think it was.
The whole last scene, the assault on General Ranker's base,
Right.
is just one crappy joke after another. And this is the end of the film, the big ramp up. It starts with they do that half-assed Jurassic Park
Yeah.
thing, and then he's tied up for the entire fight.
Well, and I thought that was funny only because of the fact that he had no arms, so they were playing the whole
was
like no
fair
arm
fight.
man versus
I know, but Andy Griffith looked ridiculous with no arms. At least Leslie's were strapped down. We're supposed to believe that Ranker has the widest torso.
Right.
Hey, let's go back to
history of ever.
Spaceballs for a minute when
Yes.
Mel Brooks has his head turned around.
Oh,
as
yeah.
President Scroob.
Yes.
And you can clearly see
his
that
thumbs.
his feet and his thumbs. Yeah, everything is. I'm backwards. Like.
Right. Well, that's just how he shot it. He should not have shot it that way.
No, but I get it. But I'm just saying it goes to that whole cheesiness of just knowing that his arms are inside.
Hey, Mel,
some
maybe
sort of
don't show
fake
your
torso.
feet. Just move the camera a little bit.
But yeah, I go back to the whole. I mean, I get what you're saying though. How bad it just looked.
Oh.
It's got to be believable at least to sell it.
To me, the best parts are when Leslie Nielsen gets an opportunity to just be Leslie Nielsen, right? The problem is there's not a lot of dialogue in the movie than what we call shoe leather, right? Which is over here, come over here, do this, grab the thing, right? Like the shoe leather stuff. But actual like character dialogue, there's not a lot. And I feel like Leslie Nielsen shines when he's able to just do his deadpan thing.
Right.
Yes.
Talking about serious things in a deadpan manner.
Sure.
Those are the moments that work, right? When he's in bed with the one night stand that's there to kill him. Right?
Sure.
Which one?
The one that's building the giant
the one that's
gun.
building the giant gun behind him, and
He
he just
off the
gets into
Murphy
his
bed.
his wistful thing, and he says, "You know, I've got to tell you, I don't know if I could ever be in love with another woman after I'm still in love with Victoria. She fell off a cliff." Just that I can't do it justice, but just the way he just deadpan delivers that horrible fact that she fell off a cliff. Oh, she died. Yes, I was just getting to that. That's Leslie Nielsen from
Yes.
the old days.
Right.
Everything.
From everything. That I could listen to all day long. Having a kid when you're 60, that's a mistake. If a piano dropped on your head, it's just bad luck. Like I make that movie again. And now I got to go back and watch like Naked Guns and like cuz
To wash
to
your
watch my
palate.
palate of all this stuff cuz he's great.
So this movie, it is a Leslie Nielsen quote, but I live my life by this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what crazy is. Crazy is walking down the street with half a cantaloupe on your head saying, I'm a hamster. I'm a hamster.
I'm
That's
a
crazy.
hamster. That's crazy.
You know, when people talk about how they want their life read by, whether
Yes.
it's like Morgan Freeman or,
Yeah.
Bill Curtis. I want mine done by Leslie Nielsen.
Yes.
Another perfect example, yes, absolutely correct, is when she says you're Dick Steele and does this whole description of Dick Steele, right? The Secret Service agent, this and that, and you do, I could describe 1,000 guys. That's the movie I want to see.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that work. The problem is they're so few and far between. There's two more moments I want to bring up that I think, because I do want to find some redeeming qualities in these movies. There is a freaking speech that Leslie Nielsen delivers in this movie that is absolutely hysterical, and I didn't want to get it wrong. He's laying in bed with the girl, and he just goes, let me tell you about love. Love is a dewdrop on a rose petal. Love is a drop of rain, pure and shimmering and trembling, so moist, so wet. And those tiny little drops of love come together, gathering up grown buds and fallen flowers and dirt and dung and deer droppings.
Yeah, so good.
That I could watch him all day do that kind of stupid crap. But the problem is most of it is just crappy sight gags of like his kung fu fight with Katana for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Another person who's in the movie for 1 second,
Yeah.
totally wasted. He just goes, whoa, and he's like starts throwing stuff, and I'm like, this is the stupidest thing that ever happened.
No, I agree.
I want to just listen to him talk about stupid crap, like it's the most serious thing that ever happened in the history of the world.
Yeah, his delivery in general forever is what he's known for, and again, just like all the cameos wasted, I think they wasted his ability for 50% of the movie at least. He wasn't doing what he should be doing.
Well, and they kept running that gag too to death, where
Yeah.
you were talking about where his girlfriend fell off the cliff.
Although
Andy
it was
Griffith brought up. Then his last picture.
that was a funny joke.
Right.
That was funny.
So I mean, it was just kind of one of those things, like you said. It's just it got repetitive to a point to where you were just kind of like, all right, I got it.
And can anybody coherently describe the plot to this movie in 1 minute?
No.
How much time do we get to prepare?
No time at all. Right now, you should just be able to say what the movie's about. Go ahead, Mel.
Oh, I got nothing.
You can't do it either. No, well, it's like, okay, so he comes out of retirement.
Yes. Dick Steele comes out of retirement
because he flubbed a job as a Secret Service agent.
Right, but he's the only guy that can, take
that can
this guy
stop
out.
General
Right.
Ranker, who he blew up 20 years earlier, but somehow survived just without his arms.
Well, yeah, I mean.
And then he has to go. What is his initial lead? I don't even remember. But this girl follows him in the airport. They have dinner together. She has a father who has a microchip that could either be used for world peace. No one's ever explained what the microchip does.
Nope.
He's captured his ex-girlfriend's daughter.
Ranker needs that microchip.
Ranker needs the microchip. But if he doesn't get it, he's going to launch her. But if he does get it, he's going to destroy the world. And so Dick and her have to find the father, which they do through a necklace that she was given that was like a prophecy. You see what I'm saying? The plot makes absolutely no sense.
It seems like you just went right through it, like you had the script in front of you. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
I was struggling. That should not be a movie script, what I just described.
But see,
it doesn't work.
They threw Leslie Nielsen in it, which made it funny.
Oh, jeez.
And Weird
Made it
Al
profitable.
and Fabio.
They would just waste giant stretches of time in this. It's an 80-minute movie that's wasted more time than some 3-hour movies where I'm like, okay, they could have cut 20 minutes out of this. They could have cut 40 minutes out of this movie, and it was 80 minutes long.
Well, you got to give people time.
No, you don't. You have to you owe people quality jokes, a good script, a funny movie. If you're going to charge them money to come see you do a comedy. Here's another perfect example. Leslie Nielsen gets on the airplane, and they have this whole 3-minute scene where this guy's trying to get into have the window seat, and it's just being a giant D-bag, right? And he's being rude to the stewardess, and they're shoving his luggage
up into the
overhead
compartment.
Some breaking glass. That's hilarious. And then this guy's like complaining that his briefcase is under his feet. Could you take care of this? And they spend 3 minutes of the movie on this guy being a jerk for almost no payoff. What the whole thing, you did that whole scene just so you could get his fingers trapped in the tray table and walk away, and we never see him again.
Right.
Like that was the whole setup for what? For him to get his fingers caught? Oh, it's hilarious.
It's relatable.
It's not relatable. It's not funny.
We've
it's
all
not
wanted
funny.
to slam someone's fingers in the tray table.
Right.
Fine, but then make it funny. Make it have a better payoff. You wasted 3 minutes out of an 80-minute movie is like 5% of the film.
Imagine the other 30% that they cut.
They obviously cut stuff because Barry Bostwick's character is gone. So what is there a 2.5 hour like Lord of the Rings extended edition of Spy Hard out there somewhere?
Release the Spy Hard cut.
We want to see the Bostwick cut.
The fan cut.
If they ever released a longer version of Spy Hard, I'm going to force you all to watch it.
What if it's hilarious except for the parts that they played? What if they
cut all the good parts out?
They cut the movie properly, and then this was what was left, but they destroyed.
Let's do a Spy Hard 2 and hire Bostwick as the director. And it's just him as the Kennedy voice the entire movie.
No. The only thing I would take from this, if I was going to steal anything from Spy Hard and put it in one of my own films, is the katana gun that the guy shoots at one point. I know you guys, we talked about the knife gun, but there is a point where this guy seemingly fires a katana out of a gun. At least that's the way the crummy filmmakers shot it to look like he did. And it goes between the two guys and into that dude's chest that keeps taking knives.
Keeps getting hit in the heart. This is I Love Dancing or whatever.
That's right. I love to party.
I love to party.
He's got like
That's right.
A knife, a katana, a scalpel at one point, a dart. But I would take the katana gun because that's pretty awesome. But that's about it.
And then they used him as a battering ram.
They did.
Yes.
Why?
He's like, I just love dancing. And they're like,
I came here to dance. Yeah, it's pretty bad. There's one more joke I had on here before we move on that I thought actually worked, which was just Leslie Nielsen saying dialogue, which is when the dad gets captured, the old man who had the microchip gets captured. Leslie Nielsen, in order to comfort his girlfriend, says they won't kill him. They'll probably just torture him a little. We can talk about it on the way. That's it. Leslie Nielsen being Leslie Nielsen.
Wasn't that the dad, too, that, if I'm not mistaken, was the guy that rented out a room to Peter Parker in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series?
Yes, probably.
That was the I see these little, like, it's funny. I didn't even recognize that was Katana from Mortal Kombat. And then they make a Mortal Kombat reference near the end of the movie.
I'm going to play Mortal Kombat with the whole world.
Yeah.
Oop. Wait, which one is it?
Bombed just like it did in the film.
I thought it was this. Let's do it again.
No, we're putting that whole thing in. Just how
I have nothing else to say about this movie. This is going to be an episode as short as the movie is short. I mean, we're going to do awards and the stuff that we normally do, but we can't do scenes that must be discussed because there isn't any. We basically did the little things. The little things. We did that already. What else is there to say about Spy Hard?
Do you get the feeling? Do you get the feeling of
There was
this
no
movie
ending. Go ahead.
when you're watching it? It's like you've done some movies, some stuff like that. It's like legitimately, take out the budget, take out all the big production and stuff like that. We could make this just as funny or better. Like legitimately, with going over it a few times and redoing it in a much lower budget type of thing, but actually hilarious. Everything was there to make this hilarious, and it just didn't do for whatever reason.
It's because of these guys. It's Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer. These guys made an entire living, and good for them. They made a lot of money, seemingly, or the studio wouldn't have kept giving them money to make crummy spoof after crummy spoof, and they were cranking them out. What was the last one they made? Vampires Suck. Was like the Twilight rip. Oh no, they did Really Fast or something like that. It was like a Fast and Furious spoof, and it was terrible.
I watched it.
Yeah,
I actually think I watched that too.
Yeah. What was it? Oh,
it was like 2015 or something.
not super fast.
Super fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Super
It was
fast.
super fast.
And they haven't made a movie since then. So maybe the studio finally was just like, "Nah, you guys, that's it."
Sorry. You've had a good run.
How was Super Fast?
I actually thought it was, because I find the movies entertaining, but I also see how unrealistic the movies are.
Yeah.
And I don't care about realism in my entertainment most of the time. Sometimes it's fun to point out. But I watched the Super Fast, and it was actually I think they did a pretty darn good job at poking fun at the movie.
Well, if you're looking for realism in film, don't watch the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I liked the Fast and the Furious movies, even though
Those
I
movies,
realized
like-
they were unrealistic.
It used to be realistic. I feel like the very first one was set in some kind of reality.
Drugs. You're on
And
drugs.
then after that, by the time you get to, what are they on, 9 now?
Yeah, at least.
I don't even know.
It's like a cartoon.
I suppose, but you're absolutely right. They have
You're
definitely
just like-
morphed it into more ridiculous.
You're like swinging a car hooked onto a bridge
Right, but
across a cliff.
I can tell you right
Every
now
tow
that
truck
first
driver
one
stream.
was still not realistic.
Hey,
at
See,
all.
but I don't know
Better
enough to
than
know
Mega
that.
Force. Hot Wheels should have jumped on that one.
You're right. Hot Wheels, Mattel should have been financing Fast and the Furious. That's probably done more for their sales
Absolutely.
than Megaforce ever did. So why was the first? I'd rather talk about that movie than this crummy movie.
We'll do
Why
that
was
one
the
later.
why was the first one still not realistic?
just all the stuff they had the cars try to do, all the noises from
Yeah.
all of the cars were all like taped off of the Supra, except for the Charger, of course.
Oh, really?
The Charger
Well, yeah, but
doing,
as a car guy, you would understand that.
So when the Charger
doing a
torques,
burnout and then a wheelie and then
so when it torques off the line like that,
they will actually torque off the line.
where
and
like
twist up car.
the nose comes up and it's just like all twisted.
Yeah, that's kind of normal, but like legitimately to be doing a burnout and then leave on a wheelie at the same time, that's just not going to happen.
Gotcha. See, something like that as a car guy, you would know. I would watch that and go,
Yeah, I never.
"Oh, all right, cool." I just assumed.
Well, you got a car that's going 145 miles an hour. He puts 2 bottles of nitrous on it and goes out and does it again. If you watch, the thing was tacked out of gear, and that's as fast as it can go. We add more horsepower, and suddenly the engine doesn't come apart when you just turn it faster. That just doesn't work.
You just go faster.
No.
That's how it works.
No.
I don't know. I own a car that
if
only
you're
goes
at-
88
If it goes
miles
this,
an hour.
if it goes this fast, X, and you just add nitrous, then you can go twice that fast.
No.
That's how it works.
What if we put a flux capacitor on it? Would it be able to go back in time?
Yes.
It would only go 88 miles an hour, and then it would just go someplace else.
Right.
I
Then
see.
you'd never really get up to full speed.
I
'Cause
guess
you
you,
would-
wouldn't even need the nitrous then at that point.
No, you wouldn't.
I
You wouldn't.
understand. I have a
Spy
car
hard.
that.
But then
I
if
have
you-
a
if
car
you-
that only does 88.
But then if
miles
you
an hour.
add 2 cans of nitrous or 3, then you're
Big
doubling and
ones.
tripling.
The big ones, yeah.
Right. So each time you add more, you go faster.
No.
Why? I mean, they kept going to Hector. They could have gone to Gwindor and got him all dialed in there.
Oh yeah, with the cosmic tones.
Right.
Why
That's
wasn't
Gwildor, by the way.
Gwildor.
Gwildor?
That's all right.
Stupid Mel.
Why wasn't
Can we just talk about other episodes?
Why wasn't
go back and revisit what we wanted to
here's
talk
what I wanted to ask, because I was going to ask this when I came in and then I forgot. I couldn't remember whose idea Spy Hard was. Whose idea? Somebody has to claim it. It was somebody in this room.
Was not me.
No.
Because if it was somebody else, they would have been in the episode. I think it was you,
No.
wasn't it?
No.
Who drafted it?
Wasn't a part of the draft. This is our last non-draft episode. All
No,
the movies
'cause
from here on
honestly,
out.
There is accountability from here
I
on.
forgot about this one, to be honest with
I
you.
got to search my texts.
I
and
know.
my,
I'm kind of thinking of doing
to
the
just
same
see
thing.
who suggested Spy Hard to me. It might have been a listener. I don't remember. But this was a terrible idea.
Never again.
Shane, we blame this on you.
See, there's movies that you've come in and you've been upset that you've been forced to watch.
Right.
But there's at least a lot to talk about in those movies.
Exactly.
Right?
This movie was short, and it was just all gobbled together the same thing.
Right. It's like not even enough to have a discussion about.
I
Well,
understand.
see you guys later.
See you tomorrow.
So what do we do now?
Well, we're gonna give some.
Uncharted
We're gonna give some awards
Why?
because we have to.
All right.
We're contractually obligated. Okay, we'll be fired. Well, they'll fire us immediately if we don't.
I thought
give
the
out some
rules were
awards.
made to be broken.
That's only when I feel like it.
Oh. The ringleader says no.
No, that's for you talking about how we discussed Galaxy Quest.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to break the rules again next week, but we'll talk about that at the end here. Wait, stay tuned to find out what we're doing next week. Will definitely be a broken rule. All right, some awards. So we have the Will Patton Award that we give out to people in a bit role. I'm just laughing already going, who the frick are we going to give this stupid thing to? Well, any of the cameos, I guess, would qualify, plus anybody else that had a small part. Who did really great? Wait, the answer is no one. Who did good enough in this movie to get an award?
The people
Barry
who walked
Bostwick.
away with the extra $10 million that it made.
You said Barry Bostwick.
Yes.
He will never, for as long as I'm part of this podcast, Barry Bostwick will never be awarded for anything. Anything. His work will only be derided and never complimented.
How dare you?
The man is a hack, and I don't understand how he had a career.
A successful hack.
Go look at his filmography and tell me if you think he's successful.
Go look at his bank account.
The
I'll
only
tell you he's
thing,
successful.
well, look, there's rich idiots all over the place. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, the guy that made the Pet Rock, you think he was like, a genius?
I'm sure he'll laugh all the way to the bank.
The guy made $1 million.
Define genius.
You see, that's what we got to do. Come up with some really great idea and never have to work again.
Right.
I had an idea like that once.
What was it?
Making a podcast.
Well, I'll tell you. It's the jump to conclusions, Matt. Now, this is the movie that we're doing next week, guys. We are going to talk about Office Space. We are breaking the rules again. And this actually would qualify. I shouldn't say breaking the rules because it did bomb when it came out in box office. So this, I think, still. But it's such an incredible movie that it's definitely not bad. But we're going to talk about Office Space next week. But all right, back to this. Barry Bostwick gets your vote. Who is your Will Patton vote go to before we crown him?
I know you're not going to agree with
Or
this,
her.
but I wanted to do Andy Griffith.
Oh,
Only because he's such a nice guy, and I wanted to see. I was really hopeful to see him as a villain, and then after watching, the movie,
and then after
I
watching
agree
it, you
with
weren't intensely
But-
disappointed?
And I wasn't that disappointed. I thought for a comedy, it worked.
He was like a trash can of dirt. Okay, would have done as good of a job as Andy Griffith did in this movie. They could have put 2 fake arms on a trash
And
can
he
full
would
of
get
dirt.
my trash can of dirt award.
Is that an award we're giving out from now
I'm
on?
doing it.
All right,
From
we're
now
gonna
on.
from now on
Coin it.
Who is the trash can of dirt? Okay,
Wow.
Who
the
does
trash can of dirt in this
award?
movie is absolutely Andy Griffith.
I will give that to him.
All right,
I'm
Perfect.
I'm going to go with the director, the
Oh.
disguise guy.
the disguise guy.
Absolutely my favorite. In the
Okay.
movie.
I do love when he became the chair. That was
Yeah.
my favorite.
He was the chair. He was the carpet. He was the window door that walked around and blends in
Yeah.
with his environment. That was cool.
To me, the guy that I thought was going for it the hardest was the cutting the brake lines guy in the speed scene, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Pop
with
quiz.
Yeah.
What do you do, man? I cut the brake lines. Like, this dude was so happy that he got this part and was in this movie. He thought he was in like a Tarantino film, and he went for it. So I kudos to that guy. But I will also give it to the director, the disguise guy. So he'll get the Will Patton Award. That's 2 votes. But I just wanted to give an honorable mention to that dude that was like kind of the guy in Hard to Kill. They had the one scene where he was, hey, get back here. Hey, get back here, guy.
Back over here.
He was really just, this is my moment. I'm going to go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe since I gave the trash can of dirt award, maybe I'll give mine to the guy that with the I love the party shirt on.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
All right.
he was going
Absolutely.
for
All right. Okay. That's almost a Denzel for a second. Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Perfect. Well, now we've got to give out top 3 performers.
Easy.
In Mel, you have to give actual before every time you're like the sound guy or this other dude that's not in the movie.
No.
Performers in the film.
I've got 3 for this film.
Do you want to go first?
I'll go
do you
first.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Number 3,
Yes.
Andy Griffith.
Shut your face.
Okay.
This is not top 3 of anything.
2 serious ones here. All
Okay.
right. Number 2, Leslie Nielsen.
Okay.
Number 1, the Weird Al Yankovic.
All right. Respect.
The ending song, I don't know if you guys listened all the way through.
No.
It actually closes the book. The movie you watched was Spy Hard.
Oh, nice.
So,
It's the theme from Spy Hard. Ready?
Yeah.
right.
You're up.
Oh, I thought you were going to play the Weird Al.
Oh,
theme.
no,
I
you
was
want me to
so
play it?
excited.
I
I
thought he
thought
was
you
going to
had
play
it.
crickets.
I don't think I have the
No, that's okay.
the copyright clearance to do that.
Well, I agree with Mel over here. I also, my number 1 spot goes to Weird Al.
Okay.
I would say also number 2, Leslie Nielsen.
Okay.
And number 3, I liked Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance. Barry Boswick.
You did not.
I did.
You did not
I
give
did.
2 of your spots. 2 of your spots to Andy Griffith and Barry Bostwick. Would never wanted to.
I just
I'm
wanna
going to throw my flip flop at you. I did not.
That hit me in the eye.
I did not mean to hit you in the actual face.
Flip flop my face.
You got chocolate.
You, sir, are a scumbag of poop.
Kurt, that was like when I threw that stick at you.
And it hit me in the eye.
I had perfect aim. I literally flipped and it hit you directly in the face. I'm sorry. You okay?
I didn't even see it coming.
Wait, are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay?
I'm all right.
I'm sorry.
Commence laughing.
I feel terrible.
Definitely not cutting that one out.
I can't
You
believe
have tears coming from your eyes.
I know.
I have one tear coming from one eye.
Oh, hope you don't get pink eye from the bottom of my shoe hitting you in the face. All right,
All right.
Clint.
Oh, we're still doing this.
Yes.
I don't want to get hit with the shoe, so
You
Don't
better
give
not
an award
vote for Barry Boswick.
Barry Bostwick and Andy Griffith. If you say in your top 3, if you say Barry Bostwick and Andy Griffith
Still got another flip flop.
and the kid that played Macaulay Culkins in this, you're getting both flip flops.
Guess who's calling in next week?
I honestly, I would like to just throw it to some of the cameos. Mr. T.
Okay.
Underused, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Fabio, because that was a good lineup. Like, he's
was
all, she's all winking at him and stuff like that. Leslie Nielsen thinks it's for him. But
Doing the infamous selfie.
He was
Yeah.
great at performing as Fabio.
right. He did an
Yeah.
absolutely good job of
Nailed
being
it.
himself.
He nailed it.
Method actor.
That was awesome. And I honestly, I got to give it to our driver, our car driver guy. I like that guy. He was a great character, fantastic. Like, that's our number
Yeah.
one, my number one for the movie.
No, I think he was the only one that did a good acting job.
Yeah.
So I had him in the top 3 originally, and then I chose to go in a ridiculous way. But
If
Oh,
you
you
gave
can
it
be
to
ridiculous.
Boswick and freaking
No.
Andy Griffith, I am going to slap you
no,
myself.
I did not. I did not. But John Ailes, that's John Ailes, the guy that played Kabul,
Yeah.
who actually has now gone on to have a great television career. He's been in a bunch of HBO shows. He just most recently did Euphoria. He's had a legitimate acting career after this.
Yeah.
And so he was good, I thought, from an acting standpoint.
He was good and funny.
He did not deserve to be in this movie. All right, so my top 3 performers. In retrospect, I didn't think about Weird Al. I should have had him on the list, and if I had able to redo it, I would put him on there. But I don't, so that is what it is. But I've got Leslie Nielsen as number 1, just for those moments when, for a second, you had a glimpse of the old Leslie Nielsen, right? And you're just like, oh man, this is what I missed, right? Right here is this guy. And then, I'm going to change it back to John Ailes. I will give John Ailes number 2, just because just now talking about him made me remember he was actually really good. And then number 3 is going to get Hulk Hogan is going to be my number 3, because that's more selling and acting than he ever does in even his regular matches. He was just like, he won't sell for guys in wrestling.
No.
And he just sold for a nameless henchman. I was like, it's incredible. He can do it. Look at him.
The nameless henchman looked familiar. He's a pro wrestler. I just don't know who he is.
I didn't recognize him.
I would have liked to have seen the tag team go the other way. They should have went with Joyce first and then did Hulk Hogan.
That would have been great. And and then have him throw the guy into the shark tank or whatever. Yeah. Right? Or the raptor cage, you should say at that point. Yeah. I just assumed it's a James Bond spoof. There was a shark tank. But
it was in the beginning. It's underneath the 7 dwarfs. It's
that's right.
Sharks in it.
The pool of sharks. Yeah, this movie, and here's what I'll say. It's a steaming pile of crap. But
you haven't made that clear.
That was Roger Ebert's actual review as well.
It was. But it still would have been better if Arnold Schwarzenegger had been in this movie.
Oh, jeez.
Which part?
As General Ranker. Who do you think I want to get rid of? Andy Griffith. He's terrible. Do it. I dare you.
You wouldn't hit him. You wouldn't hit him with glasses.
You don't want to get hit with a real shoe.
Arnold Schwarzenegger as General Ranker, missing 2 arms, being ridiculous, would have been hilarious.
Could you imagine how wide his suit would be if his arms were tucked?
That's exactly why it would have been hilarious. And it would have been better.
It would have been so much of an overkill.
Yes. And him just,
the exaggeration would have been so much more saturated.
Yeah, and could you imagine him giving the line like, this guy isn't talking, take him out here and use the silencer, right? Like that would have been
funny.
So much better.
That would have been good.
So I think
we're all disappointed that would have been better.
Right, and then you could have had the True Lies thing in there with him in there.
Oh yeah,
right. There's just never going to be a movie that Arnold doesn't make better. That's all there is. You add him to any film.
See, it reminds me of Loaded Weapon 1.
Yeah,
they've got the John McClane gag on the beach. I mean,
that's a perfect example of a well-used cameo.
Yes, very good cameo.
Yeah, Loaded Weapon is probably not as good as Naked Gun and Airplane and those other ones. It's probably still below that, but it's much better than this movie.
Yes.
If you guys haven't seen it, it's a Lethal Weapon spoof with Samuel L. Jackson and Emilio Estevez are Murdoch and Riggs. And this is before Sam Jackson was in Pulp Fiction. So that's like his big breakout and became this huge star. But before that, he was still doing films and some minor roles. And he was in this movie. And at one point, they blow up this trailer on the beach thinking it's Emilio Estevez's trailer. And out of the rubble comes John McClane, literally Bruce Willis, with the white tank top on and everything. He's like, no, that place is down there, right? Like they give him the address.
2323 Pacific Coast Highway.
Right.
No, this is 2328.
That's right.
You're wanting down that way.
Yeah.
It was from Lethal Weapon 2
right.
when they blew up Riggs' trailer.
Exactly. That's a perfect example of how to use a big-time cameo for maximum effect. And then this one, you had Mr. T, and you didn't even have him pity any fools.
Not a single fool was pitied.
No.
I think it's copywritten.
Copywritten, it's his thing.
Maybe he wouldn't release it.
They didn't pay him for that.
He said, it's double, you want me to pity any fools.
Yeah. I'll fly a helicopter, but if I'm pitying some fools, you gonna pay up, sucker.
Well, we appreciate that you guys joined us. Don't go watch this movie. I know most times even Megaforce, I think.
Watch it.
I said, go watch it because it's ridiculous and, it should be seen. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
If this happens to be on in the background somewhere, it is going to just be on in the background somewhere.
Watch it in segments. Go to YouTube and just watch it in segments.
Best Spy Hard moments. It's 38 seconds long.
Yes.
It's probably out there on YouTube.
And it's all Leslie Nielsen dialogue.
It all is. So we appreciate you guys. If you've listened, hold on a second. I need to talk to you maniacs that are listening right now. Anybody that has listened this long to this Spy Hard episode and you're still with us here at the end, seek help, okay? Honestly, contact a therapist. What are you still doing on here? I know that I should be happy that you're listening, but I'm worried about you. I'm worried about them.
They should probably email us.
Email the show.
If you listen to this episode all the way through,
Yes.
email the show. Seriously, we
email
will
the
line
show.
you up with help.
This show is trash at gmail.com and use the code phrase trash can full of dirt. That's how we know that you were listening all the way to the end. If you do that, we'll send you some swag. I'm not even kidding. We will send you some swag. Hit up the show and tell me who you thought was the trash can of dirt in this episode. Meanwhile, guys, this is our last movie that's not part of the draft. For those of you who are listening, you know, a couple weeks ago we released our draft episode, and we had already had Cyborg and then Spy Hard on the docket. I don't know why. It would have been a perfect opportunity to get out of, well, I think I like doing Cyborg, so that's okay. But from starting here on out, we're going to be talking about the movies that we drafted. And so next week is Office Space, which was the #1 overall pick by Mr. Clint Bush. So thank you for that, sir.
That's how we do.
And we're going to have a little special treat for you guys next week when we release Office Space. We're also going to be releasing a special video alongside of it. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be posted on our Facebook page, facebook.com/badmoviesrule. You guys that stayed to the end, you're my favorite. You're masochists. You're glutton for a punishment. I appreciate that you stuck with us this long. For Mel Vandy, Kurt Mummer, and Clint Bush, I'm James Hauser, and we appreciate that you listened to us talk about the worst movie ever made.
So overall, I would say this movie's a flop. A flip-flop to my face.